G'day, everybody. I want to talk about caveman. And are we going forward or backwards when it comes to getting along with Mother Nature and knowing things? So, if you think you know things, that means you think you're safe, right? And if you know things, you should be at a safe place because you know things, right? But if you think you know things because other people think they know things and you're listening to them, you don't know things. You better hope they know things. And when things go wrong, well, I guess they didn't know things, eh? But back in the day, when the weather used to get rough, cavemen found better shelter than a lot of people have today. What do I mean by that? Well, they had a nice deep cave usually, or something really solid out of the earth. Right? And they used to live, they go into these caves in the hills and they could watch the weather. Why can they watch the weather and their cave doesn't get knocked down? Because it was solid, right? So if you ever want to leave the cave, everyone that left the cave, like you see in a particular cartoon when it's got these cavemen in it, right? Look at my shades. I won't tell you everything. Get you thinking, right? And these cavemen, he even says not to leave the cave because it could be dangerous. But it's only dangerous if you're not smart enough. That's why there's a smarter person that helps them leave the cave. Because if you don't do things right, it will be dangerous. Like if you build a straw house at a place that can have bad weather every now and then. It's proven, right? Really, all around the world, we'll have a moment at some stage of bad weather. So if you really want a home that lasts a while and you can sell them for lots of money, and they really are worth what they are instead of propaganda that makes them that valuable, you would build homes that can stand any weather, wouldn't you? Definitely, if you can do it, people were proving it in the 50s with concrete homes that they can build these such homes. And yet today, what are we building? The straw home. Or the one out of wood. Either way, it doesn't. The straw home gets blown down on all storms, which you see in storms. People lose roofs and stuff like that. There's something loose, something just weak as piss, right? Not really a home. And these homes that we have cost us a fortune. You work all your life for this straw home. Amazing! That later on it will fall down, all the bits, the weather will get to it. When you could have built a home that was stronger by hand with the materials in the ground. Why didn't that happen? Did nature stop you from doing that? Or was it the people or things around you stopping you from doing that? Did they own everything? Were they there lying going, oh, that's mine, oh, I've got a line over there, and he says that's his too, and you'll have to fight us for the materials. What does that sound like right now today, people? Sounds like mankind to me, fighting over materials instead of getting along. We're all like lions when it comes to governments. Not too bright ones either. Just more lying, aren't they? When a lion needs something, what do? I just take. What does that mean? Well, if you want to do things easy and the lion way, you just print money and stuff and let other people deal with the problem. Stuff like that. You don't have to think too hard the lion way because you leave it for everybody else. Anyway, one day, our kids, or these kids, or some kids will either get worse like we've been getting with technology because we can't handle it and we get more lazier, or we use it to take advantage of things, or we get better and we use it to get along instead of I'm better than you, and actually slow down technology and build things all at once to last a year or a couple of years, and everyone have similar things and everyone builds similar things that we share. Right? There's some things you can keep secret when it comes to some little things for protection, maybe, just in case some other idiot wants to start, oh, I don't want to be nice anymore, I think I'm more superior, right? But other than that, everything should be shared and all be made the same, like a video game. See, when you play a war video game or a building video game, you find you pick the best materials, or the ones that do. So you find which one's the best tank to use, the strongest, doesn't have to shoot the farthest or to be the coolest. It's all about the cost of it and how strong it is and what it was with the materials and how recyclable it was and stuff like that. And sometimes they're more costly. So you're better off just waiting and building them slowly and repairing them. You can repair things in these games, or you can just send them to their doom and make another one. It could be cheaper and less time consuming than actually have your army get repaired. Or you can actually prepare things and have repair buildings around and stuff like that, which I got into more, and like to keep my men alive. That's what I end up doing when it comes to these war games. It wasn't about just winning all the time, and I did that. And how many things can I build in whatever time and steal much materials as possible so I can build as quick as possible to take over the other team. But then I realised strategy, and you could just, because in these games you only had a limit anyway, right? You hit your limit, and then they'll be near their limit, definitely if you're waiting a while or close to it, and you fight between who picked what materials and how you use them, right? But if you send in some, right, and then as they're getting attacked, instead of just leaving them in there and then sending more, I used to do that. I started changing my tactic and send in a little bit, not attack so hard. As soon as my men are a little injured, I might be losing some as they're pulling out because they got too injured and stuff. And I'd go repair them. I had these buildings where you stand around and stuff like that in a certain circle. We'll repair certain things. It's a building. That's how it worked in the game, right? And then you'd send them over there. And while they're repairing, I'll send it in the next crew, right? And I found that way you can do just as much damage as sending them all in, right? And dying, or you'd probably do a little bit more damage, but then you had to wait time and build an army. But this repair thing was like quarter of the time. They would repair real quick. And if you actually had a tactic and then you can keep on clicking with your mouse, you could have a circle of that and continually attack. Where the other way, you can't. Right? And of course, you got to have a tactic so they don't know what you're doing. Because if you know certain tricks like it is in, say, chess, you know the moves, then it's harder to beat them. Right? Unless you're a person like me that likes to get the next challenge and next challenge. And I do tell a lot, but I don't tell everything sometimes. If I know that I need to know things to have an upper hand, which I usually do. They call that like a hacker would call that a key to get into things that they make. Right? So I might tell how to kill me in a game 90% of the moves, but I'll keep some moves that I'll barely use, but I'll use it if I think that they're using what I've told them against me. So it's another little tactic. I'm always usually trying to keep one up. But sometimes, they might know that too, and then you lose in that game and you learn to try to win again. That's what games are like, isn't it? Right? When it comes to war games, they're not friendly. Not only you have people can attack like I just talked about and do it in different ways, you could also infiltrate, right? Or you fly over and you find out their base, you find out what they're doing, and you hit them where it hurts. In a lot of these games, it comes to energy and resources, so you always hit and then you can't protect everything too, right? And you're more likely to protect your basey areas the most, and then you try to protect everything else. It has a bit of protection in the other resources, but you can't protect them the most because then you don't have an army kind of thing, and so you got to spread out things. But if they send a whole army, right, to an area where you just don't have one and you don't know what's coming, they usually typically take it. So you got to make sure you got a backup if that area goes. See, I used to have several backups. A lot of people will go, oh, that's enough energy, and push themselves and put lots of lasers up and stuff like that. But if I took out their energy source and if it was in one area, and they only had that one lot that pretty much ran everything, in these games your energy would drop down and these lasers would become useless and stuff like that. So you don't want to have to take a whole force of lasers to get somewhere in an army they got there with them, to get into their base, when you might find an energy source that they needed, right? Because they went too far, they're on their full energy. So when you pull that off, or two of them, they didn't have enough energy to run the guns, so they become useless in the whole base. That's how it would work. And you'd have energy in the base too, but it'd be hard to have it all because you needed space, and the bigger you went, the more you had to protect with lasers. And it's all about tactics when it comes to war games, isn't it? Because when you have a big land, you need a big army to protect it. Otherwise, certain areas aren't protected when it comes to big forces. That's how they used to get through these walls. You'd have guns all the way around your island. You could do, right? But if they hit hard in one force, and you don't have the extra guns, because that's what you've got to quickly try to do and find out where they're trying to come in, or prevent them from getting to certain areas. Otherwise, they hit you hard, the computer people. They're not stupid, and they'll be like, oh, we'll hit over here hard. right? And then they get in, and then they get, and if it was an old games like the old battle games with elephants and stuff like that, and their uh, spears and all that kind of thing, they would come and just knock it all down and then come in like a wave, right? And these games could upgrade right up to the end, but the tactics could still be the same, right? In a lot of cases. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, and have a good one, everybody, and see you later. Bye bye. And I hope in the future we get things right so we don't have to keep seeing tragedies, because the only good thing about having tragedies all the time is good for the enemies or good for people to make propaganda, because people are suffering, right, and make money off it. We've heard about that all the time, about areas that are there to make people, help people, but they're there just mostly to make money for themselves, right, and they use that as an excuse. And we've got to stop having more of that happening around the world and just get our shit together and start doing things more right, not because it's the style or they think it's cheaper. We can't keep knocking down trees. So what's wrong with concrete houses? Can't we really make concrete houses pretty good? I know a lot of people that brick them, so we make them bricks and then put bag over them so they look like they could have been a concrete house anyway, right? And then the same with people who've got wooden houses, making them look like brick houses. They're just fake, isn't it? It's a facade, it's not even real. When you can just go concrete. And you watch these doco shows they got out there where people go off grid and make these homes out of concrete with bottles in them and all sorts of things that you can use to reinforce them instead of just rebar, right? But there's lots of ways to do it, and it's pretty cheap. And they don't have to look pretty. What you do is you make it strong and stable, and then put the fake prettiness on the outside. How about that? Instead of having weak things and then making fake little outer covers like on a cap on a wheel that looks cool and fits in with everything, and then sell the joint a little dearer. And they're pretty expensive where you work a lot of your life for it, when really, if you just dug out of the ground and dug deep enough and made a hill, and your whole family did that and then dug in that hill, right, and then built a little shelter, that shelter would be more protected and definitely was up higher, because that's protected from floods. And if you're in the hill, you're protected from any harsh weather, things falling down. You could walk on that hill. You could probably put even a little dam on top, right? I'm not saying all houses should look like that. People have built homes like that. But you can have a strong home out of concrete. This guy was making dome ones with slots in it. You can make all sorts of shapes. Just make them more stronger. Make them so people actually feel safe. That's what I believe. And that should be the standard. Anyway, and like I said, these people have proven that you can build such homes without blowing budget. So definitely the budget we're already up to today, so we can get rid of the inflation. That might be the only problem that will cause that. But when it comes to the materials, it doesn't cost that much for lime and concrete and stones and stuff like that. Anyway, have a good one, people, and bye-bye. I started blabbing.